This video is brought to you by BTI Institute, a New Jersey leader in certification-based management training.
Welcome everybody to another edition of PMI New Jersey's Lean Coffee. So Bob Phillips should be on at any moment of time. If you have attended these before, hopefully you recognize me. I am the Agile LCI chairperson. We like to network. We like to host these Lean Coffees. We like to just have a space for Agile enthusiasts as well. Today, I'm going to share a Trello board, which is the equivalent of if you're co-located in a team and you wanted to get together to brainstorm on something, an idea, maybe a multitude of things, then this is something equivalent of digital as compared to what you might slap onto a wall. I am going to just start sharing if I am allowed. One moment. So, John, you might have to just give me those privileges.
Dude, I made you a co-host. You still can't share?
Let's see.
Are you logged on with a different ID?
Oh, hold on. Hold on. I got it here in just a second. Sorry. Or desktop. Let's see. Okay.
There you go.
Like Tom, I also got a new computer. Of all the days, I bought my first Macintosh one day before the CrowdStrike Microsoft issue that impacted a bazillion people while they were traveling. And my buddies were like, you got a Macintosh just in time. All right. So a lean coffee is something really visual. And if you can see something that looks like swim lanes going left to right, I have something called a legend, to do, doing, blocked, done, and some aha moments as well. And I'm making it a little bit more colorful with a legend here. So something green is for a facilitator, such as Bob or myself. And if you notice, things to do, that's kind of what's next. And as I'm actually doing this, I am explaining lean coffee right now. And there's some red labels, like a stoplight or blocked, yellow behind the scenes. And if you were to just follow along, there's something in the done. Upload registered email to Trello. Hey, we've got a Zoom link placeholder that always seems to be a popular question. Invite some co-admins to the board like John C. and Bob Phillips. Have a link to the board, create the actual board, capture a link to the tool that gives the visual timer. So we have that as well. And what we allow for people to do is simply start typing in topics that might be of interest by clicking on the plus, add a card, and type a question or an area of interest to you. And again, hopefully you have access to this, but if not, you can even put in some questions in the Zoom chat, and either Bob or John can go in and put this on your behalf as well. And similar to a product backlog, you have all the user stories or spikes, things that are kind of bubbled up to the top or have more weight or importance or precedence. We can actually go in and click on a card and just vote, which is over here. You'll see an icon like a thumbs up. So what I would ask people to do over the next, 3 minutes or so, go in and put in a few topics. These are a few placeholders. Oh, Bob just put one in as well. And just checking. Bob Phillips, are you on as yet?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. There you are, Bob. I gotta adjust my screen as well. Picked a good background where Robart seems to be kind of drinking something from a coffee mug, but he might be sucking off something off my brain cells. I just move my head a little bit. He's almost picking my brain type. Let's see, we've got something else here. I'm going to just take something from Mike and put this in its own card. So copy so that it will come to the forefront. Right, and we're going to use a tool to give just another minute. And we'll start seeing this on the tab over here. And again, similar to a conference room, if you were to give people some pens, some markers, some post-it notes, they'd just be scribbling away. And then a facilitator would say, hey, why don't you go ahead and just slap them on the wall? If you were to be a little sneaky, you could give color-coded ones if it serves a purpose, but you are introducing bias there, or you could just keep it consistent all to one color. And then you would actually even ask the people if they could group something that has a similar pattern or a similar thought process. And you might end up finding people saying, hey, I was thinking of the same topic as well. It's good to see it here. And a Scrum Master facilitator might say, hey, can we combine these? And then give it like a thumbs up or thumbs down. All right, so we got a ding in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Gonna lower the sound a little bit. Oh, we exceeded, so I'm going to stop the alarm. My apologies. Bring. All right, now that we've got a flow of things here, I would just ask people to click on a card of interest to you. And it could be more than one. You could be interested in 3 cards, 4 cards, all of them. But again, as a controlled exercise, I would give you 3 choices. Go in and just give a little thumbs up for a topic of interest. And when that happens, Trello will automatically start giving a count here on some cards. And yes, you could vote on your own card if you wanted to do that. And again, this is emulating the product backlog, things that have more weight or precedence, perhaps risk or urgency, will be bubbled up to the top, overlooked by a product owner, and then we will start tackling them. Let's see, we've got list, and there's a way I believe you could sort by most votes. Again, this is just an electronic tool, and when I click on that, I'm saying, hey, this one got a 3, some others got a 2. Now you notice they're not next to each other side by side. So this is a forced design similar to, again, a backlog. Don't give us traditional requirements that are high, medium, or medium low, or everything's a high. Give us something sequential that's in an order of sorts. And a facilitator certainly could get the conversation without, oh, we got a 3 on this one. I'm going to sort one more time. Let's see, sort by most votes. And again, this isn't to say other cards could not emerge. We're open to that as well as we move along. Okay, so I have added quite a few people to the board, the background. I'll keep an eye out. and I have explained Aline Coffee, so I'm moving those to Adon. Let's take the first topic. Jay, any AI tools being integrated into Scrum tools? AI is, of course, very much out there. And Bob, have you seen anything? Otherwise, I'll open it up to the audience.
Actually, no, I haven't seen any AI tools yet because I need to say this. Anything I say tonight doesn't represent the views of the Federal Reserve Bank in New York or the Board of Governors. And because I just told you where I work, basically the Fed has been very slow in bringing AI in. So I can't share anything on that.
Yep. So Bob has a standard disclaimer just because of his organization and well respected. And that's interesting. Some companies have not embraced AI as some others. So there could be risk factors, there could be uncertainties, there could be a number of tools and so on.
Let me mention that PMI actually has the Infinity tool that is geared specifically to project management. And I would encourage everyone, because you're all PMI members, you all have access to it. And it's recently been updated to use ChatGPT-4. Give it a shot. I also understand that I think SAFE came up with an AI that you can try. So there's a couple of AI tools out there. I can't vouch for any of them, but start with the PMI one. The PMI tool, if you need to look for it, you can either find it through the website or it's called Infinity. And I forget the URL for it, and when I find it out, I'll type it in the chat. But check that out.
Thank you for that. Let's open it up to the audience as well. If you are in an organization that is experimenting with this or using some tools and you're comfortable talking about that or sharing, go ahead and just unmute yourself, or if you want to put something in the chat, that's also fine.
Thomas Quinn here.
Go ahead, Tom.
Company up in Cambridge, Court Square Group, old friend of mine, Keith Parent. They've come up with a very, very unique use for analytical AI. You hear about generative AI, it's going to write your term paper for you, but analytical AI, especially on the pharmaceutical side, we're doing molecule discovery and things like that, is really important. And they have a suite, they've done several projects right now that when contract development manufacturing organization, a company that's in the business of discovering new molecules, new bugs that are ultimately going to be some kind of therapy down the road. But they have a molecule of interest, they have a protein of interest that they discovered. And they're going to sell that to a big pharma that's going to take it to the next stage. Big pharma has to be able to extract all of the information from their unformatted data structures of all the documents they have in Word format and Viva or TrackWise or whatever format they have them in, and suck all the ones out that have something to do with the discovery of this new molecule, because the big pharma company has purchased it. And that has been a tremendously tedious task. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. To try and paw through tens of thousands of pages, if not hundreds of thousands of pages, to find the one that are relative. Well, they've got a tool that they're using with a company out of Canada. They train it, and it goes for an iteration, what I call an iteration or a sprint. But the AI is doing this sprint through the document set to pull out what they need. And then that teaches it something, and you go back and the humans look at it and figure out how well they've done, and they try it again. And after they go through like 3 of these iterations, they're up to 99 and 44, 100% pure of what they've been able to extract and what they have to extract, and move over to the company to say, yes, we have sold this research bit to you. It's a really, really cool use of analytical AI and to relieve us from a tremendous amount of work that was just so tedious in the past.
Thank you. It sounds like a very interesting use case. I was talking to a data scientist the other day as well, and I'm reading some articles where what took about a few years in computations, given the right modeling and the tools with AI, people are getting certain results much faster. Well, of course, you do need some human intervention to validate and see what makes sense, but it's certainly doing quite a lot in processing speeds, among other things. All right, anybody else using any specific AI tools in the world of agility? I do have one I can mention because we had a guest speaker come in about two presentations ago. Randy Shumpert is also a PMI New Jersey member, and he is creating Gembalytics, and it is helping with the scaling of agile models and agility out there. And if you're interested in that, there is also a recorded session, which you can look in the archives, again, for your members. Okay, if there's nothing else, I would like to move this to a done. If we were in a room, I might just look for a visual. Hey guys, give me a thumbs up. Should we keep going or move it to the done? Let's then look at what's next. What is a good method to convince management that Agile is better than Waterfall? I get feedback that we should do things in a straight flow. Let's talk about this and give ourselves, let's say, 7 minutes. 8 minutes. Give ourselves an hour. Oops, sorry. But yeah, are we still having some struggles with organizations venturing into agility?
You want me to take a pass, Nitin?
Yeah, go for it, Bo.
Yeah, this is a really fun topic because a lot of companies, they read and hear about Agile, but they don't really know what it is. And so what, my approach would be to experiment, to bring in the mindset of innovation and experimentation and say, well, can we try it? And when you make that statement, say, well, let's just let one team be Agile and see what happens. And so by doing that, you're definitely minimizing the risk in your organization because it's, you're only dealing with one team. And then you can basically time box it. You can say, well, let's try it for the next 2 or 3 months and see what happens. And what I'd say 9 times out of 10, when you do that, if you actually set it up right and you enable the team to be successful, everybody's going to like it. And then that team becomes like the beacon of hope for the rest of the organization. I've seen it happen, and the key is starting small. Like you don't want to come in and say, everybody's going to be Agile now, so let's stop doing waterfall. So and you have to pick the right project, something that everybody understands what they're trying to do, and you have the skills on your team to enable to do that. And so and once that happens, the whole agile will just starting taking off, and don't even think about scaling. Just keep it simple. Start with a team. Then if that's great, add another team. And so Nitin, did you have any thoughts about that?
I concur. Don't start boiling the ocean. If you can do a small experiment, nothing like it. Those are initial adoptions as compared to transformations. So I certainly recommend that. Demetrius, I see your hand up as well. Would you like to unmute and say a few words?
Yeah, actually,
Go ahead.
I was thinking that uh, it's more of I'm going to give like a PMI answer, which is it depends. It depends
Tell
on
us more.
what the project is. There's some projects waterfall works probably is maybe a better option than using agile. And sometimes, I've been in environments, in the current environment I'm in is a mixture of both. You have a team of cross-functional, you know, project managers working on initiatives that their stakeholders like to be, or it's appropriate, and their stakeholders like the reporting that's done in the traditional waterfall method. And then you have another set of stakeholders that have bought in to Agile and believe that it um, is valuable and that they like the delivery, the instant delivery, or multiple, or I guess uh, immediate feedback every 2 weeks and demos that show the immediate progress. So it really depends, in my opinion. It depends on what the stakeholders are willing to buy in, and then the appropriate project, because I think they both have value, um, and should be used depending on the scenario.
That's a well-balanced answer. Depends.
You know,
Certainly, there are cultural aspects to this, the size of the organization, domain. We do have an annual survey called the State of Agile. It's I think 17 years running or 7 years running. I put it in the chat as a PDF. It's a nice visual. And if we were to just peruse it, maybe share it with executives, some people are more visual and some people are very driven by data. And this one balances out to see kind of what's out there. And certainly not everybody jumped into this in the mid 90s when Scrum was introduced, as an example. It took a while. And competitors started coming in, they started doing it. Startups embraced it because they had lesser risk. So it really depends. And I think it's an evolution, it's a journey of sorts. Well, were you saying something as well? Anybody else on ideas, tips, tricks, charms? Go ahead, Frank. I see you raise your hand.
I think I agree with the depends, but I think the question is now many years into Agile being in the industry, some people, especially some developers, may have a bad taste in their mouth, or maybe some managers have some bad taste in their mouth of the word Agile. So I would say don't use the word Agile. Uh, you think about and share some thoughts and processes, frameworks, without using the word Agile on trying to do things more repetitively, getting feedback loops a little bit tighter, that sort of thing, to move towards uh, move away from maybe waterfall. But I agree, and not every project and every uh, team would be better off with a fully complete agile solution. Some might still work better with waterfall, especially if they're in operations of very repetitive tasks. But I think what I've seen in my area when this question comes up, how do you convince people? It's not really it's not really be forcing on some training and methodology, but it's really discussing with the teams, well, what's not working well with the current process, what can be improved using agile and a more open mindset to improve things.
Thank you for that. I think that's a great tip. You're talking about using less of some of the formal lingo or words that might just be a turn off or intimidating. I'm reminded of someone who tried this as well years ago. Let's try something with Agile. No. Let's try something with Scrum. No. Let's try iterative development. Oh, what's that?
Yeah, just to add to that, unfortunately, there's a lot of imposters out there, and dev teams do get a bad taste of Agile because it's not really being done right. And that's And that's what I've encountered, I've worked for many different companies over my career. And it's always when I first start working with a team, it's like, I've done this before and it really stinks. And then I have to kind of undo all that damage that was done by somebody that was put in a spot that didn't really know what they were doing. And it's just unfortunate, but when you do it right, it really works. But, it just takes the right people, bringing in the right coaches and bringing in experienced scrum masters, because you can't expect, like a lot of times somebody will hire a scrum master because they got their CSM. So all that means is they took a 2-day course and was able to pass an exam. But to be a good scrum master, you have to have been there with the team for many years, because every team is different. There's no cookie box solution. And that's part of why some teams don't like Agile.
Thank you for that, Bob. Anybody else have anything on this card before we move on?
I think just showing the value of Agile, getting feedback early on. Waterfall, you do a 9-month project, the end users don't see the results until 9 months after you do this big bang release. But wouldn't it be nice to show them your minimal viable product after 1 month to make sure that you're on the right track? They may have some valuable feedback that might change, future increments of the product. That helps ensure that what the business is expecting is what the IT team delivers to the business.
I think you start just by asking a simple question. And that is something like, why, right? Why are we changing? What's the need for change? And if we can really clarify that, then perhaps we would stay with Agile because Agile makes the most sense, or we would stay with Waterfall because Waterfall makes the most sense. So just answering that question clearly, why, is a good place to start.
Yep, simple question. All righty, anything else here? We'll move it to done. Going once, going twice, going thrice. All righty. So I have moved that card over to a done. Let's see, we've got a few other votes, as you notice in the background. So I'm going to do another quick sort. Sort by and most votes. We had a number 3 that's bubbled up. Let's take a look. Is it something similar, something repetitive, something new? Artificial intelligence. And you see Agile taking a crazy spin to accommodate the new AI methodology. Again, open for discussions. There are no right or wrong answers. Some of us are part psychic, but we don't know where this will take us.
Again, personally, I think this is a little scary for me, because I've talked to other scrum masters and product owners thinking that AI is going to do the job for them. The AI is going to create their backlog. The AI is going to run the sprint, and maybe it will one day, but I don't think it will in my lifetime. But it's scary almost, because it's like, okay, if AI is going to do your job, why do you have a job, Mr. Product Owner or Mrs. Scrum Master? So to me, it's more, there's no, like Dave said, there's no silver bullet. It takes work to be successful, and AI, I don't think is the silver bullet. But again, that's totally Bob's opinion.
I think the plan is that AI will take over the mundane tasks. If it does do some of the drudgery that you have to do to maintain the backlog, but that just gives the product owner or product manager more time to spend with the stakeholders to come up with a better vision, better roadmap for the product.
Yeah, I could be convinced, Jay. Yes.
And if you know, that's my question that I put in there. PMI has this 3-part AI series. It's free, and I took it, and it just seems for the past couple of years that's been the scare: is AI going to take our jobs? And by taking that 3-session course, you know, it's just another tool to help project managers plan and control. So I think, you know, the dust settled. I don't think there's much of a scare as there used to be, but now we're talking AI in an agile world that could make project management, excuse the term, annoyingly complex. So that's why I threw that out there for discussion.
And it's a great question and a great discussion indeed. I'm reminded of, again, we did something a couple of months ago where AI could augment agile practices. We had a guest speaker, Ritesh Vajaria, saying, imagine you were a product owner and you wanted to have a dog walking service. What could ChatGPT or an AI tool give as a vision statement? And we put that in real time. We got something. What could it put in as a roadmap? Again, it threw out something. But it may or may not have resonated with the person who was typing that in or wearing that product owner hat. Certainly, it helped tweak it a little bit or validate a few things or go, huh, I didn't think of that. Eventually, we got into something more granular saying, give me a few user stories. And we came down to titles of user stories, as I would call them, but not with an acceptance criteria, nothing with how that might weave itself into a definition already if used or definition done. So as you're seeing, I'm going from something high level to something more granular. And what I think might happen is we might have tools to augment certain functions in the world of agility specifically. But that's just my take on it. Other tasks that are mundane or big data or number crunching, when it comes to the execution of something where you know you have a finite result, I think would be more promising. But again, you need like a human brain to kind of sift through some of that. It's interesting. It's kind of figuring that out. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said, Nitin, but unfortunately I think people are lazy, and what they will do is take what AI gives them and just put it down. and then you know, but anyway.
Are you
I'm
talking
sorry.
about 7th graders trying to do an assignment that was due as of yesterday?
I'm talking about reality. Somebody's under the gun with a deadline. They need to get something done. Then you just let AI do it and have no idea what they just submitted, right? And it's a little, yeah. So yeah.
Is that why they have anti-AI tools for teachers now and maybe college professors? Huh. Wonder how that's going to work.
My daughter went to Skidmore College, and they had during the parent weekend, they had a really interesting talk on AI, how they actually encourage students to use it as part of their assignments, so they would see, using it as a tool to build a foundation and not copy it. And so I thought it was a very interesting talk. But yeah.
Yeah, for those of you who have gone through PMI's AI courses, you know that the PMI sees AI playing 3 potential roles, and they use the letter A for all of them, right? They can automate tasks, they can serve an assistant, and the word that Nitin was using is to augment the work that's being done. And so, the big benefit really is across the board. It's not just to, I don't see AI taking over for people, but it will be able to provide, that the assistance, the ability to leverage and make you that much more productive. That said, though, is that obviously if you do not have AI skills going into the future, you may get left behind.
Yeah. Hey, John, it's Wayne Marcy.
Hey, Wayne, nice to see you.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I just want to say on this topic, I'm somebody who's in my swan song of my career, right? And I'm like, next 5 years, I don't think I'm getting taken out by AI. But I feel for like the younger generation that's kind of scared about this, um, about where their future is. But I think I agree it could be an augment. We did at the bank that I work at, they're really pushing AI and everything because they're trying to see like, what could we leverage it for? Where could we get productivity gains for? And so like the development team that I work with, like they were able to leverage GitHub Copilot to write automated tests. So what that did for us, it's not that they didn't write automated tests before, but they were able to get their test coverage up higher much faster than if they had done it themselves. And all the development team loved it for that. Um, as somebody that sits with the development team and maybe sometimes I write user stories, I gave GitHub Copilot or Microsoft Copilot, whatever they stuck into Word, a shot to write a user story. And I described the screen and it wrote a nice user story in Gherkin format. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. Maybe a little bit better than a template. But then when I took the screen picture and I gave it to the AI, I was like, write a user story for this, right? It didn't do that, right? So I was like, I still got a job there. Um, but I could see where in the near future, like you could have a screen and it could write the user story, but then probably could also write the code, right? So, maybe we are getting to a point of it being faster, but I don't know. I think all the companies right now are spending time and resources to see like how they can leverage it, either for a competitive advantage or to save money.
Thank you. Thank you for that insight and feedback and something that's happening at an actual organization in reality. Alrighty, we can always talk more about AI, and there's more down the list in our backlog. Do we want to call this done or last comments? Once, going twice, going to the done. Alrighty, let's see what we had next. We had another 3. 2 ones. Let's go to this one. Do a quick timer. Oop, pause. Relaunch. We got about 8 minutes. Let's see. Can you implement SAFE by removing kickoff meetings, formal refinement meetings, inspect and adapt, and other ceremony in an enterprise environment? Maybe the environment uses both agile and waterfall. Can you still be effective? This should be fun.
Sorry about that, guys. That was a big chunk there. That was my question. I added a lot in there. Yeah, so hopefully it's if it's not clear, I can try to put a little bit more meat on it to crystallize it a little better. What I'm really trying to understand is I want to get some different perspectives on if a enterprise is implementing SAFE And there's the three different levels of safe, and it's essential safe, and if you're not doing essential safe, then you're not doing safe. I mean, but the enterprise is feeling like it's bloated. There's too many meetings, not enough work. People are not having enough time to do the work instead of being caught up in all of these different ceremonies and meetings. So I'm wondering, if you remove all of those, can you still be effective? I mean, and can you say that you're still implementing safe? Yeah.
I think I'll comment on this one a little bit. So you say kickoff meetings. I'm not aware of a meeting in the Skilled Agile framework called a kickoff meeting. But if you're referring to PI planning, that's an essential meeting, right? That's a basic part of the essential safe framework. Refinement. So we have to figure out what meetings that's about. So that's product management, right? Those are people involved in defining the larger feature set that a customer may want. And then there's team level backlog refinement, where teams are refining or grooming their user stories to make them ready for bringing into the sprint. These are sort of required meetings to make sure that we understand what it is the customer wants, right? And you mentioned the inspect and adapt. That's the very last meeting of the quarter in SAFE, right? That's where we look at, we do a big, large, what's called a PI system demo. We do qualitative and quantitative metrics, and then we assess, it's a problem-solving workshop where we assess how well or how to improve the whole PI planning process, because it's a very expensive meeting. Now, as far as meetings are concerned in general, I mean, teams decide, we practice basic Scrum and SAFE, right? So they're the regular team ceremonies, which are mapped one-to-one with the Scrum Alliance in terms of the meetings at a team level. At a program level, we have a lot more control over what meetings are necessary, but SAFE is not so prescriptive that if you don't want to have meetings on Friday, don't have meetings on Friday, kind of thing, right? So it's a loaded question, as you said, but those are, as I look at those first parts of the question, those are some of the things that come into mind. I teach a lot of SAFE courses. I'm involved in a lot of SAFE transformations. I think once you really understand the Scaled Agile framework, it's really not that complicated, and I don't know. I don't find it to be overwhelming with meetings. But anyway, that's my take on it.
Hey, Randy, do you find when you come in to start a transformation with SAFE that teams are initially overwhelmed?
Well, starting with the transformation, to me, that starts with the leadership, right? First, they need to understand what problem is it we're trying to solve, right, in the transformation. You've reached a tipping point of what you've been doing historically, and you want to understand, what direction to go in, right? So we start with an assessment, and that assessment brings a lot of clarity to that question. But once we understand the answers to those, then we can begin to apply solutions downstream. So, so if you take it to the program level or you take it to the team level, then we can begin to answer those questions, right? How do you solve certain process problems? How do you get teams to embrace this practice? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, I like Demetrius. I think that like SAFE is where Bob and Nitin spoke a little bit about, experimental start at the team level. SAFE is going to drop something right on top of you, right? And I've seen people get overwhelmed just with the amount of change that's happening at once that won't shake itself out probably for, 2 or 3 PIs. And then once they get into the rhythm, it doesn't feel it's not as scary, right?
Wayne, that's exactly right. That's typical. It takes about 2 usually about 2 PIs, but
Right.
it can be 3. But by then, teams really begin to see excitement about how the SAFe framework works. But those first couple can be brutal, and it's a significant change and very frustrating if they're not well coached and mentored and sufficient training involved. But once you get past that second one, it's really a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's been my experience. So
Yeah.
Demetrius, I would say, drink the Kool-Aid, man.
So here's the thing. So Randy, I really appreciate your insight and input as well as yours, Wayne. So I have drank the Kool-Aid. I am SBC. I am also a
Ooh.
trainer. Here's the thing. So all the training and all of that is great. And then you get in the real world and you start working with the leadership teams at the organization. And to your point, Randy, you hit it right on the head. It really has to be bought in by leadership,
Yeah.
and they must. I mean, it's not even a if, they must buy into the framework because they have to champion it,
Yeah.
right? Because their leaders have to be on board. Now, if they give any kind of inkling that they're not really on board, or like, okay, hey, they're doing this thing, but really you can do your own thing, then it becomes a battle at the team level.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
you're trying to convince them, but they're like, hey, my leadership team, they've given me flexibility. They think that this isn't really, all of that. Um, so they got leeway to go a little astray. And so trying to pull them back in sometimes it can be challenging. Um, and then these same team members, they're participating in multiple um, ceremonies, and that's where it comes in where, "Oh, I've got to be in all these meetings. But to your point, it's a part of the framework. So it's like,
Right.
this is what we do. If we've agreed that we're going to embrace the framework, then it's not really just things that we do. These are effective matters. You got to know the why. And Randy, I think you mentioned this as well. If they don't understand the why,
It's not
it's
gonna work.
hard. It's not going to work. It's hard to get them convinced. So there's a lot of what I find is I've always said this, like, software is easy and people are difficult. I can get software to work. It's the human dynamics, even with any of these frameworks. It's when you get into the interpersonal skills and talking communication and convincing and getting buy-in, that's where the dynamics become challenging. You really, it can make and break the acceptance. That culture of the environment can make and break the acceptance of these types of frameworks.
We
I'm
probably
sorry,
only had 7 minutes, a
too.
minute left on this one, but I'm involved right now in the state of Minnesota with this large transformation of the revenue department, not IT, but the tax department, right? So imagine that one. And the point I wanted to try to make here is that until leadership bought in, it wasn't happening. There were things like, so the state of Minnesota, for example, they have a web portal that businesses can log into and pay their taxes or check on the tax status, things like that, but individual citizens cannot. So there's this enormous project that's been on the books for almost 3 years using a waterfall approach. And that's what tipped the leadership in to say, we have to do something different. We haven't moved the needle on that project in 3 years. I mean, it's not in any significant way. So we came in and introduced just basic agile, not SAFe, just basic agile, and trained the teams on basic Scrum and how those practices work. The first set of features for that same project were delivered in 6 months. And so that's given us all kinds of leverage with the state to begin to scale agile across the state. But it's because leadership said, we can't do this anymore, right? It was more like that. Anyway, I'm taking too much time. Sorry for that addition to that.
All right, let's just all good feedback, all good things. Frank did have his hand up and waited very patiently. Frank, if you're still about or would like to contribute, we'll give you a word.
Sure, I'll
Otherwise,
be
we'll move on.
brief.
Yeah, go
Randy
ahead.
covered it mostly. I think depending on the size, if especially with larger companies, it may take longer for them to transform or some pockets to start adopting and be successful with Scrum or Agile or some parts is safe. And I think the way to speed that along, not just what was mentioned about getting leadership backing everything, but you have to celebrate, you have to announce all the successes of what's been done by those teams that have been doing Scrum or some Agile work. And then what happens is other areas of the company start saying, oh, I heard that team was successful. How did they do it? That's how you make it and expand to not just Scrum, but to a full scalable, safe solution.
Right. Thank you. All good comments. So, be it safe, be it less, Greg Larman, BuzzFOD, be it the Nexus through scrum.org, be it Scrum at Scale, Jeff Sutherland, signatory and co-founder and developer of Scrum. All of these sit on something. And if the core is not strong at a team level, then it's about getting into the DNA and cloning sheep. And I put a little fun thing in the chat. If you know the movie Multiplicity, Michael Keaton figured a great way of duplicating himself. And first, he had all this time in his hand. His clone could get the laundry, take care of some household items. And then he said, you know what? Let me clone the clone and then have more time on my hands. And what happened is this third character started walking into walls, started blabbering gobbledygook, and doing all kinds of crazy things. He's like, what happened here? Right? This, in essence, is what we see at scale. If the core of what you have is not well done, and you can fumble along the way, then you're just scaling what's already there. So just another caution. That's all. All righty, folks. Let's move on to another thing. We've got about maybe one more card. And again, like a backlog, the things that were more pressing or had precedence or a value, we got to, and things at the bottom, hey, if you don't get it this time, maybe another time. Hey, Bob, what is it like to be a purple shirt during the Agile 2024 conference? Tell us a little bit about that. Were you a pirate?
Sure. No pirating. The conference, the Agile 2024 conference, was in July in Texas, and to be a purple shirt, that's basically to be a volunteer. You need to apply for it, and apparently they really are tough about in the application process. But I guess somehow I was able to slip through, and I was able to get in. And the first thing that was cool was that my conference fees were paid. So that gave me better justification to get my company to pay for my travel. So that was a bonus right there. And being in the volunteer role, I got to see from the conference from a different set of eyes, where the volunteers were responsible for helping the speakers. You got to have conversations with the speakers as far as what they needed and how you could best help them facilitate it. You also found yourself chasing around these people they called the black shirts, and they were the AV gurus. And not one black shirt was assigned to every single room. So it had a multitude of things that I did. And one of the things that I found to be the most interesting is they designed it so that they had a Scrum meetup for all the volunteers in the morning and in the afternoon, right before the morning shifts and the afternoon shifts. And what they did is they had everybody provide a picture of themselves beforehand with your name on it. And then they had a Kanban board with all the conference room names on it. And then, like, say conference room A needed handouts, it had a post-it saying, get the handouts. If conference room A needed something else, it had a post-it saying to get that. So basically the people that organized it set up the board before the daily Scrum, and then the people that volunteered came and took their picture and put it on the conference room that they wanted to do. And I just thought that was a really great way to organize as far as who was covering the rooms. And it allowed the people, us volunteers, to decide, hey, would you mind if I had that room? Because I have some history with that speaker and stuff. So it was, I was really glad I did it. I also had time to actually, participate in the conference as well. And if you, my thought would be, if you ever do get the opportunity, definitely, sign up and fill out the application to be a volunteer, because it's great, because plus you get to meet some really cool people, as far as, people that have been volunteers over the years and stuff like that. So it was a good experience. And so, I wasn't sure if the card was going to make it tonight, so I'm happy about that. The actual conference, the main thread is Agile Dead. That's one of the things that a lot of the attendees were very concerned about. And Esther Derby, she wrote a good number of Agile books, especially on the retrospectives, and she basically said, Agile's not dead. It's just that Agile was successful, and everybody right now is trying to figure out what do we do next. And so it's almost like this whole thought was like, oh, hey, Agile's dead, but it's not. And so it was very eye-opening, and it kind of energized me. It kind of brought me back into that whole Agile mindset and stuff. So thanks for letting me share my spiel about being a purple shirt. And plus I got 3 purple shirts.
Wow,
as a souvenir.
So you were doing something at scale, in person, with Agile enthusiasts.
Yes, indeed. It was good. And I
Alrighty.
told my daughters about how to organize that. It was, I was like, it was like brilliant, the way they organized the rooms and stuff.
Great. For our next virtual session, Bob will give us a tour of his house in every room. Alrighty. Anybody have any questions for Bob on volunteering, Agile Alliance, or other things?
I know Wayne did the Scrum Alliance. I don't know if he wants to share how that was.
Yeah, I mean, similar. I did the Scrum Alliance gathering in Portland in 2023. Volunteering, you are, I worked a lot that week, so, and you did get to meet a lot of people that you might just see over Zoom, so that was fun. And I've met a lot of people from around the world from that gathering. I will say this though, Bob, we got to sign up for the rooms ahead of time. So if you had a speaker that you wanted to sit in the room with, if you were fast to sign up, you got in with them. And then what we did was, let's just say I wanted to go see like Urcon or one of the superheroes, I might have swapped rooms with somebody day of. So
That's good. Did you
yeah.
have a daily Scrum like I
Yep.
described? Or?
Yep, same thing. But
Yeah,
if anybody
awesome.
gets a chance to volunteer for one of these things, it's really awesome. You meet some great people, and like Bob said, your conference is comped, and that means you get, food, shirts, and you get to see some really awesome presenters too. So
And the other thing, like, they warned us, like, if you're not volunteering, don't put your shirt on, because it's like you're a magnet. Because people come, you walk into an area and people come into you with all these questions, and you don't have the answer at first, but eventually the same question gets asked probably 50 times. You become an expert pretty quickly. So
I was pretty happy, Bob, to see you on LinkedIn with the purple shirt. That's when I hit you up that you volunteered. So that's awesome, man.
Hey, I got to play timekeeper here. We're down to the final minute
Mhm.
here. So we need to wrap up.
Thank you. Yep. So this was Lean Coffee. This had no set agenda. Ideas, questions, discussions just came about and they evolved. We were not looking into solving for a situation, scenario, issue, challenge, or problem. And we had the collective intellect of a group come forth. And we hope you've enjoyed this. We will stop sharing and stop recording, but Bob and I usually stay on along with some other enthusiasts for another 15 minutes. That is not recorded, it's free flowing. we can either continue on the cards here or something else of interest.